This is our segment, People You Should Know. And today's very special guest is actually one of my clients, which is really cool. I always love talking to my clients because I love to figure out why they do what they do. And it's Aaron Merriman from Merriman Development Group right here in California. And we're going to talk about all things California, all things raising money. Thank you, Aaron, so much for joining us today.
No, thanks for having me, Jillian. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I've been waiting to do this interview, so I'm super excited because I think the question on everybody's mind these days is why California? Why invest in California?
No, that's a great question, and there's a lot of discussion around just investing in California in general, what's going on with rent control, and how that impacts investing. What I can tell you from our strategy, and we have a fairly unique niche. We're focused on A+ locations in Southern California, so it's primarily coastal property. We're looking as far south as Laguna Beach in Orange County, hugging the coastline up to the Santa Monica Pacific Palisades area, and then inland through the Wilshire corridor. So we're focused in, West Hollywood, West LA, Beverly Hills, and then really desirable areas of LA and Hollywood. So when you look at those areas, and what happens from an investment strategy, it's very, very different than what you might see in low income areas or more inland areas. Those areas are a lot more cyclical, and go up and down with extremes like we saw back in 07 through 09. The areas that we invest are much, much more conservative, and they just move less. They move less when the markets move, and so that's very, very appealing to us. It's harder in these areas, but it is, very lucrative. We're able to add a lot of value to properties quickly, and generate really nice yield. So when you think about, so that's kind of, you can't just look at an entire state and say, I'm out of California. I think you miss a lot of great, and there's people that do it, and I talk to them all the time, but you miss a lot of opportunity if you just dig down a little bit. So that's how we invest. Rent control is a hot topic right now. We've actually been investing in rent control areas for years. Santa Monica, West Hollywood, LA, those are all rent control cities that we've been operating in. We're also heavily invested in the coastal area of Long Beach, and that area, through the new state law that has passed, is now rent control, but there's not a lot of teeth in that legislation when you really dig into it. And so really with everything that's been going on, it has really no impact on our business actually.
Oh, that's very interesting. So all this hubbub about rent control, and now that rent control is passed here in California, what you're saying is it's not going to actually be that effective.
Well, what it's really going to do, and again, I don't have the crystal ball, but what it's really going to do, I believe, is move. It's going to move the mom and pop investor to operate more like an institutional investor, which by that I mean, they're going to do their maximum allowed rent increase every year, regardless of what's going on, rather than sit on a property and they have this real fear of vacancy and they don't raise rents for 5 years, something like that. So and you already kind of saw that leading up to the law getting passed with people getting 30% rent increases because owners were trying to game the system a little bit and get under the gun. So our model is really to go in, renovate buildings really, really nice. Our competition is new construction, we're not developers. We're buying 75, 100-year-old buildings. We're renovating them really, really nice. And so our competition is really new construction, not existing apartments. And so when we do that, we're bringing a unit up to market. Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not, under the current state law, right, it's 5% plus CPI. Santa Monica and LA, they're in the 2 to 3% range. That's completely fine with us because we've taken a unit, it's become vacant, we've renovated it really, really nice. We're adding, air conditioning, in-unit washer dryers, all new kitchens and bathrooms. So it really is a brand new 100-year-old building. And so that allows us to really get, substantially higher rents. And so we don't need to, a standard 2 to 3% increase a year after that is fine for us.
So in other words, you're basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're basically emptying the building and then rehabbing the whole building and then filling it up with new tenants. So you're controlling your own destiny when it comes to rents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now it depends on the building and the location. We try to just do the entire renovation at one time. But if not, we'll do it one unit at a time. That's right.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So I wasn't even thinking of it that way because I was back in, when we did condo conversions, we just empty the whole building and renovate.
Yeah, and that's what we try to do. We've done that historically. In a market like Santa Monica or West Hollywood, it's harder to do that. In Long Beach, it's easier. And a lot of times we'll even negotiate through the escrow process to move tenants out. And so when we can do it, we're just that much more efficient on a renovation. I mean, we currently have probably 8 to 10 buildings that we're renovating that, it's probably 50-50 as far as getting them completely vacant and then renovating versus going one unit at a time.
I totally understand. So let's talk about this for a second, because you're talking about, buildings, and you're buying these incredible buildings in these amazing locations. I mean, you cannot get more high class. Well, maybe Rancho Santa Fe, but you can't get more high class than Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, Laguna Beach, like you mentioned. These are really high class areas, and you're buying these properties. I imagine they're relatively expensive properties. They're probably more expensive per unit than any other, buildings may, except maybe for places like San Francisco or Washington, D.C. You're not going to get any, cheap buildings there. But you guys have elected, interestingly, to not syndicate individual deals, but rather to do funds. And you've done 3 funds so far. Can you explain to the audience perhaps why you chose, with such expensive buildings, to do funds as opposed to doing individual syndications?
No, absolutely. That's a great question. And, the expensive is a relative term, right? It's certainly on a per door price higher than something that you might find in other areas. But from a profitability standpoint, what we do is extremely profitable.
Sure.
Now, to tie into your question about syndication, so our investment strategy is built around creating an experience for our tenants. All right. We want to give them white glove treatment. It's all about creating these micro communities. It's very, very desirable with our target tenant base, which is that college educated millennial. Typically household income is $100,000 to $250,000 a year. And they want to live and get that experience that we offer. If the building is too big, 20, 30, 50, 100 units, it's much, much harder to create that same experience versus a building that's maybe 5 units to 20 units, right? Your neighbor, it's very communal, and that's what we look for. Private entrances, different, incredible architecture, and you see it throughout our projects. So your question as to why we operate in a fund versus syndicating goes right into that. If we were to syndicate these properties, which are, they're small buildings. Now we might pay, we've got a 5-unit building in escrow right now for $1.6 million. We've, bought 10-unit buildings for $4 million, 12-unit buildings for over $3 million. But that's really relatively small. And if we were syndicating all those deals, we would have to basically create a new business for every property, right? So it's additional accounting, additional legal work.
What?
I know, right? But all these things, it's more bank accounts, it's more tax returns, it's just more of everything. And we would not be able to scale our business like we want to. When you operate in a fund environment like we do, there's 3 entities, right? There's the limited partnership that the investors come through. There's the general partnership entity. And then there's the holdings entity, the property that actually takes title and all the operations of the renovations and, rent payments and all that stuff. So we can push everything through one entity. It's way more streamlined. From the accounting side, we're certainly tracking everything at the project level, but it really, really streamlines the process and has been way more efficient. When we launched our first equity fund back in 2018, prior to that, we had thought about syndicating, and because of the reasons that I just mentioned, we decided to move away from it.
Excellent. So, I mean, that makes so much sense and is such an amazing argument for doing a fund as opposed to a syndication. And I mean, we run the gamut here in terms of what we find. We find some clients are just super comfortable doing individual syndications. Well, I'll be perfectly frank, the bigger the client, oftentimes the less likely they're to do individual syndications. They're looking at more or less doing, the fund model, like you said. But I want to back up for a second, because you said you did your first fund in 2018, but you guys have been in business way longer than that. Tell me what it was like when you first started raising capital, when you started doing that, and how you did it.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. So my business partner, Aaron Lujan, and I, we started in 2005. And, so we're going on nearly 15 years now. Back in 2005, and really from 2005 through 2018, we operated our fund one, so to speak, was a debt fund.
Right.
So they were not getting any equity, and it really operated like an evergreen fund. Our investors stayed in, we paid our interest, and it was really our existing investors, especially the ones that were closer here in Southern California, because we have investors all over the country, that were closer to the deals we just talked to more frequently, and they understood the profits that we were making. And they said, look, we'd love to participate from the equity side. We can come in with more money. What do we need to do? And so that was a big push. And we also knew we just weren't going to grow the way we wanted to, continuing to manage the debt fund the way we did. We needed to wind that down and then launch the more conventional equity fund. And what I would say to your comment earlier, there absolutely are people that are dead set on only doing single deal syndications. And we're just not a good fit for them, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's tremendous amount of advantages, in my opinion, to investing in a fund the way we do. Our investment strategy is hyper-focused, so you know exactly what you're investing in. And then also what it does is it gives you the ability to have more streamlined distributions and cash flows, because there's always something going on. You're not constrained to one property getting renovated or operated. So you're getting some diversification there. But the other thing that it does too is it gives you the ability to, potentially, when there is a market correction, right? If you bought wrong and you're in one deal, you've got to ride it out. But in a fund, you have the ability to buy on the down and buy up stuff around you. So you may have some properties that have dipped in the short term, right? Because no market's forever. Yeah. But at the same time, it's not like, only the properties in the fund lost value. Everything around it did. And when you look at where we buy, properties that are 3 blocks from the beach are never going out of style. They might dip in the short term, but they're always going to come back. And you're not going to lose money if you buy right in the areas that we invest. And so if you can capitalize on a dip, which a fund investment provides, then you're much better set up in the long term, right? Versus potentially getting into a single deal syndication that you just happen to time it wrong.
Right. So, I mean, that is you made such a great point about how you can almost rescue one property by leveraging the ability to buy another property. You can rescue one property from another. And if I'm invested in only one deal and only one syndication, and I lose my money, or that property, fails, then I fail. you couple it with another property that can prop it up for the time being, you don't necessarily fail.
No, that's right. And I mean, fail is an extreme word. and we've, I mean, knock on wood, but we've never lost money on a real estate transaction in 15
That's
years.
awesome. That's
So
amazing.
we have a tremendous amount of due diligence that goes into what we buy.
Yeah,
But at the same time, right, you're not hitting a home run every time you're at bat. There's
sure.
singles, doubles, and triples. So, and home runs. So if you buy into a situation where maybe it's just a single, or it doesn't perform as well, the market pulls back. In a fund environment, you typically can always find dry powder somewhere. And so if the market pivots and dips for a while, you can capitalize on that versus, if it doesn't and you're an investor and you're stuck into one deal, you've got to wait for a sponsor to find another deal that you've got to go into. So we just feel like it's way more streamlined. We're able to operate lean.
Yeah.
We certainly could not do what we're doing. We currently have about 115 doors and 55 million of value in properties, and we could not do that with the efficiency that we have if it was all these one-off deals.
Absolutely. And so, we're running out of time here, but for me, this conversation has given me two things. One, you've convinced me that investing in Class A markets is always classy and a good idea. and two, if you structure not only investing in these Class A markets, where you're a local operator too. Like I want to draw a picture for people here on why this is so important, because you're not just investing in Class A markets. You're investing in Class A markets that are within, short driving distance for you and your partner. You guys, you're not California investors investing in Cincinnati, Ohio, or Dallas, Texas, or somewhere else. You are Southern California residents investing in Southern California in Class A markets, while also pairing that with a fund model where you go. You never stop. I think that's incredibly valuable. And I see it. I get your emails where we just bought another property here, we bought another property there, and see your progress with the. I will say this too: your communication is with your investors, and I'm not an investor, I'm a lawyer, but your communication is really, really great. And something I want people to go do is go to your website, lmdg.net. That's L as in Lujan, M as in Merriman, D as in development, G as in group, .net. Go there, sign up for their newsletter, because I want you to see what they're doing in terms of not just marketing, but communicating with their investors, both people who are their investors and are not their investors, and the progress they make. Because I don't even go to your investor meetings or what have you, but I do get the progress reports you send out, and you're really good at communicating with investors. Like I said, we're running out of time, but do you find that helps you with A, investor retention, and B, getting new investors?
No, absolutely. We want to provide the same level of service to our investors that we provide to our tenants, that we provide to our partners. And, good communication is a big part of that. We give investor tours to anybody that's thinking about investing with us. We can, in an hour and a half, we can cover a lot of properties, and people really appreciate that. It's very, very transparent. And our investor retention is literally 100%. We've never lost anybody. We do what we say we're going to do, and we love to talk about what we do. So I appreciate that, and it's good to hear it, because I know you're on the list, so it's great to get
Awesome. Well, we always end these by asking one question. We come up with a big, huge reading list for our viewers and our listeners. So tell us, what book do you recommend for anybody who is out there in the business world, in the real estate world, in in life in general? What do you recommend they read?
So actually, I just finished reading Steve Schwartzman's book, the founder and CEO of Blackstone. but he just put out a book. It's called What It Takes, and it's a really, really good book. A lot of what we do, we try to model off of how they started. Obviously, they've had tremendous success and are the gold standard of real estate investing. So
everybody knows Blackstone. You cannot deny their success.
So it's a really, really good book. I recommend it to anyone that's just kind of interested. And it doesn't even need to be someone that's in real estate. Just understanding how really good organizations run. It's a great read.
Oh, you know what? I can't wait. I'm gonna pick that one up over Christmas for sure. I got too many books to commit over Thanksgiving, so we're gonna commit to Christmas. Awesome. Well, thank you, Aaron. Everybody, please go check out their website at lmdg.net and check us out at crowdfundinglawyers.net. Bye, everyone.